Marvel, Star Wars, and DC fans discuss why their favorite franchises are struggling. This is from Variety. Let's take a look at this story. Alan, I believe you have notes.
At San Diego Comic-Con, Variety asked fans why Marvel, DC, and Star Wars have lost some of their cultural dominance and what each franchise needs to do to win audiences back. While the opinions varied, most agreed the major franchises are at a crossroads. Disney generated mixed reactions following the success of Superman and the disappointing performance of Supergirl. One outspoken fan criticized the new direction, saying, "I think the new Supergirl sucks. They are trying to be like Marvel. They need to really just be their own thing." Other fans are far more supportive of James Gunn's leadership, praising Gunn. "Every movie is going to be a reflection of the character and the writer and the director that is working on it." The same fan blamed Supergirl's failure on reported studio meddling, arguing the focus groups shouldn't dictate creative decisions. General audiences don't know what they want. If it underperforms, at least it is still left intact. At least it was the vision. Many Star Wars fans said that franchises have been diluted by its heavy focus on D+ series. It feels like they're trying to push things out into streaming services rather than actually make something grand and adventurous. Even dedicated Star Wars fans hadn't seen The Mandalorian and Grogu, suggesting streaming may have changed audience habits. The Marvel remained the biggest attraction to Comic-Con with Avengers Doomsday in the future. I'm excited to see X-Men and Avengers come together. Others were more skeptical. It's 25 men and 5 women, and they're just a lot of powerhouses like She-Hulk that are totally left out. Another says that streaming really destroyed a lot and added art is meant to be consumed together as a culture. Too many streaming platforms, too many series all at once.
Well, Alan, what's funny is Spider-Man Brand New Day opens this weekend, and it will make more money in its first 10 days than Marvel made last year releasing 3 movies. That's gonna happen, okay, with the trajectory this thing is on. Already over 70 million in previews, which is insane. So they're struggling because they're focused on side characters that we don't care about. A Captain America that isn't Steve Rogers. Audiences don't want that. They need to look what worked in the comics and what didn't work in the comics. And just because it happened in the comics, just because Captain America put that costume aside to become Nomad in the comics, doesn't mean you need to do that in the movie. The comics is a place where you work out not only good ideas, but bad ideas. And when you've got the movies, you can cherry pick the good ideas and ignore the bad. I feel like with Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy, he really cherry picked the best ideas. I mean, the third movie is flawed, in my opinion. It's not the best send off, but I like those 3 movies. I like at least the first 2. And he cherry picked a lot of ideas from Dark Knight Returns, from The Killing Joke, like a lot of from Batman Year One. There were a lot of comics he drew inspiration from to make his vision, but he took the good ideas, discarded the bad. Okay. He didn't bring in Nightwing or anything kind of, I've never loved Nightwing. He looks like, that costume looks like an Ice Capades costume.
It looked fabulous.
It does. That dumb big what's the point of the giant collar on Dick Grayson? Explain it to me, Nightwing fans. But what are your thoughts on this? I have other stories related.
I mean, you keep piggybacking one story after the other because it's all the same thing. Look, Avengers Doomsday is based on the comic book series, and it happened to be one of the later comic book series, and it happened to be the comic book series that had me quit reading Marvel once and for all. It is this continual attempt to modernize our stories. That's why Star Wars failed. That's why Marvel, as of late, has failed, and that's why DC is failing. Because we think we need to fundamentally change the values and the characters of that we have known for decades. Superman, Captain America, all those, Spider-Man, even there's fundamental values that these characters have, and if you don't base your stories off of those values, you get a modern tale, and that's what's happening. Spider-Man Brand New Day is the perfect example. The Spider-Man stuff works because it feels like it's Spider-Man. We get a sense that Tom Holland is actually playing Peter Parker. We are seeing action as if it were Spider-Man. We talked about how, this feels like a Spider-Man comic book, the action and even some of the story. But where Brand New Day fails, and we'll talk about it later, is when they bring in a character and just bring the character in name only, and that character has nothing to do with the character of the comic books. And so at that point, this movie feels inauthentic because that's not that person, and this storyline for that person never happened in the comic books and violates what we understand and know about that character. So it's weird. It's weird that Brand New Day does both things right and wrong.
Woo!